What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to my inner sanctum. Prepare for a look inside of the twisted mind of a Turbo Hayabusa survivor. Today, we're diving in head first into the deep end of the high-performance pool. No floaties or water wings allowed. Be a grown-up. Embrace the chaos. You may have convinced yourself that the ZX-14R is the fastest motorcycle ever made, but it's about to pale in comparison to the glory of these ungovernable machines. These bikes laugh in the face of speed limits and are likely to skyrocket your insurance premiums if you just look at them for too long. Without further ado, let's talk about some of the most brutally powerful motorcycles. The BMW S1000RR is built for impressing dudes on Instagram. So if you want to be gay, that's the #1 way to do it. On the other hand, the M1000RR is built for impressing dudes on the racetrack. So if you want to be gay and get together with a bunch of other sweaty guys in leather, that's the way to do it. BMW's M division just took the original platform and said, how do we garner the attention of even more dudes? Well, M stands for men, so that's gonna get you done right there. A big carbon fiber mustache was the first step. I mean, Freddie Mercury did it first and he looked pretty good to me. These Beamer squids love a good mustache ride, if you catch my drift. The M1000RR is pretty much a world superbike machine with mirrors. It's more focused than the S1000RR, more refined, and yes, even more homoerotic. This bike makes 205 horsepower, 13,000 RPM, but the numbers don't tell the whole story. It comes with titanium connecting rods, lighter pistons, a higher redline, and carbon wheels, all to make the M1000RR the most track-capable bike BMW has ever made. Why have they built such a machine, you might ask? In racing, manufacturers have to sell a certain number of bikes to the public to meet homologation requirements. So, if BMW wants a competitive racing platform, they have to convince 1,000 people that they need a $43,000 superbike in their life. I mean, it makes sense, right? Dual income households, no kids, 2 gay guys working a good tech job. Why wouldn't they buy an M1000RR? Up next, we've got the Honda Fireblade, aka the CBR1000RR R SP. Say it with me, RRRRR. You kind of sound like a barking dog if you say the Fireblade's government name too many times in a row, so we're not going to do that again. And I guess that's fitting because the Fireblade is the bike you get when Honda finally acknowledges that they got that dog in them. While the power is terribly nerfed in the US, the Fireblade, when in its true God-given state, makes 215 horsepower. And trust me, this ain't your dad's Honda. This flagship superbike is barely capable of tolerating public roads in any capacity. With the spicy top-end scream of a good inline 4, the Fireblade only wants one thing, and it's f***ing disgusting. Speaking of disgusting, this thing will cost you over $30,000 out the door, but that's the price you pay for HRC excellence. But really, Honda just needs to sell a V4 superbike. We all know they can do it. Come on, Honda, quit playing around. Let's get it done. Now, let's take a break in today's sport bike programming for something a little more different. Dare I say it, the forbidden category that sport bike gigachads dare never to consider. Cruisers. But not just any cruiser, a muscle cruiser, baby. And if there was ever a motorcycle that truly earned that title thanks to its swollen and engorged musculature, it's the Triumph Rocket 3. The Rocket 3 is what happens when Triumph's engineering department goes for happy hour at the Hinckley pub, and then after drinking 6 Irish car bombs, they come up with the idea for a 2.5-liter motorcycle engine. Riding a Triumph Rocket 3 is one of the classiest ways to dislocate your arms from their shoulder sockets. It makes 163 foot-pounds of torque, which is likely enough to tow a small boat or at least a couple of jet skis. Yeah, you can stretch a Hayabusa and go fast in a straight line, or you can wear a monocle and a top hat and ride your Rocket 3 to a PTA meeting. It's the muscle-bound freak show of a motorcycle meant for the classiest degenerates in our society. In Italy, motorcycles are considered art, and art is powerful. It is able to poignantly present ideas and spark cultural movements, and in this instance, the RSV4 factory represents the art of overkill. 220 horsepower? Check. Semi-active Öhlins? Check. MotoGP-derived inverted brace swing arm? Check. Why? Because they can. Because Aprilia wanted to make a bike that challenges itself to see how far you can be pushed until you start to cry and resign to a life of old clap Japanese leader bikes like the coward you are deep down. Just kidding, of course. When have I ever said anything bad about Japanese leader bikes? Jokes aside, the RSV4 factory is a great machine. That V4 engine is so powerful, exciting, and sounds absolutely wonderful when revved out to oblivion. The factory trim not only grants the RSV4 the electronic suspension, but also lighter forged aluminum rims and the special factory livery. Because what good is a fast motorcycle if it doesn't also look the part? Yamaha didn't have to make the R1M, but they just had all this extra carbon fiber lying around and said, how can we put this to good use? The R1M, much like the M1000RR or RSV4 factory, is the up-spec, track-oriented version of their already legendary sport bike, the YZF-R1. This bike uses the legendary MotoGP-derived 998cc crossplane inline-4 engine that sounds as good as it performs thanks to its 270-degree crank. Look, inline 4s might be old news on the GP grid these days compared to all the spicy, hot, sexy V4 action, but the CP4 is still a gem of an engine for a factory street bike. And the R1M also has full-blown rider aids, each controlled via the onboard IMU. This is all pretty standard high-spec superbike stuff, but it was worth noting that Yamaha was once the first to popularize that technology on their street-going sport bikes. Yamaha has had many milestones over the years. The first fly-by-wire throttle, the first ever cross-plane 4-cylinder, they even made the first motorcycle to enter my life. And boy, did that R3 enter me hard. I mean, enter my heart. It entered my heart really hard. Yeah, that sounds better, I think. The R1M offers electronic Öhlins in addition to its carbon fiber bodywork, but otherwise, it is a not too dissimilar thing from the regular R1. Could you buy a base R1 and use the extra cash to build it into your dream track weapon? Sure, but the R1M has the aesthetic appeal that a clout-chasing speed freak needs on their brutally powerful motorcycle. Sure, you could buy a Panigale V4, or God forbid a V2. Why would you be watching this video if you're gonna do that? Because the pride of Bologna offers you the Panigale V4R for a few privileged privateer racers and track junkies every single year. The V4R is Ducati's homologated special, built and sold to be allowed to compete in World Superbike. And compete it does, often being frequently cited as the best bike on the grid these days, with it being basically the choice of every privateer team on the grid. With the factory race kit, this bad boy pushes 240 horsepower from the 998cc Desmos Edici V4 that revs all the way to 16,500 RPM. If that sounds like a MotoGP bike from about 12 years ago, well, it kind of is. The V4R isn't exactly a motorcycle for the faint of heart. It essentially says you can either shave tenths off of your lap times or years off of your life expectancy. The choice is yours. Meanwhile, the dry clutch is chattering away, egging you on. Come on, pig boy, open her up. What are you waiting for? If your balls haven't dropped yet, they're certainly not going to while you're sitting there idling the damn thing. Meanwhile, you're looking down at the cockpit, questioning how it is that you even found yourself in this situation. It's a race bike, a $46,000 race bike at that. Just get a K5 Gixxer out. It's objectively a better bike. Everyone knows that. Haven't you seen that one video? That one video that every Suzuki owner always references because it's the massive copium that they huff, knowing that their $4,000 leader bike absolutely is not better than a brand spanking new Ducati and will never offer them the brand cachet that they hope to achieve, and their dad is never gonna love them anyways? Of course you've seen that video. You already know the legend, so we'll keep it quick. The Busa is the original speed demon. It refined the open class sport bike, and it finally shut up that damn Honda Blackbird that wouldn't stop squawking outside Suzuki's bedroom window at 5 a.m. and shut it up, it did, earning the namesake as the fastest production motorcycle with the tact of a heat-seeking ballistic missile. Still in production some 25 years later, the Busa makes just shy of 190 horsepower, but the torque, ooh baby, that hot, sweet, sexy, juicy 110 foot-pounds that would make even the brotherliest of Harley brothers cream their leather chaps. The Busa is still electronically limited to 186 miles an hour, but that just serves as an homage to the Japanese sport bikes arms race that would have gone nuclear had an agreement not been met. The Busa has always been more than the sum of the spec sheet. It's iconic. Chrome parts, stretched swing arms, 240 section rear tires, guys riding flip-flops with Bluetooth speakers blasting a milli by Lil Wayne. Cookie Monster fitted hat, you know what I'm talking about. Despite its old age, the Busa remains competent. It's alarmingly stable at triple the speed limit, smooth as butter, and more comfortable than it has any right to be. It's a certified classic. Moving on. The MV Agusta Brutale is considered to be the world's fastest naked bike according to the internet. And that's great, because nothing makes you feel alive like getting beaten down like a sail in the wind as you experience G-forces while white-knuckling the handlebar. It's a humbling experience for sure, one that forces you to be honest about yourself and your ability as a rider, or at least honest about your grip strength. 208 horsepower and no fairings means you've got no protection from the wind or the cold side of the Grim Reaper. MV Agusta threw everything they could at this machine. Carbon fiber forged wheels, the ultra spicy inline 4, and a crazy exhaust that raises questions about how in the hell those things even pass noise requirements. MV's consigliere must have made an offer they simply couldn't refuse to the head of the Euro 5 Commission, if you catch my drift. The whole thing is exotic, powerful, and certainly brutal. I wonder where the name came from. The greatest side quest Kawasaki has ever achieved was building the H2. Made in partnership with the Kawasaki Heavy Industries Aerospace division, this monster is the first motorcycle to come equipped with a supercharger from the factory. And beside its siblings that share the same tech, the only bike to still do so even 15 years after its debut. It's a motorcycle that in stock form feels ungodly. When modified more closely to resemble the track-only H2R, it feels completely alien, as your atoms are literally separating from one another as you accelerate at warp speed. As it comes stock, the H2 makes a claimed 240 horsepower. If you think that's incomprehensible, it's because it is. Humans aren't meant to experience power-to-weight ratios like that. And once your brain becomes so demented and desensitized, Kawasaki was kind enough to leave plenty of ponies untapped in the supercharged inline 4-cylinder that'll get some bolt-on mods, gets you closer to 300 horsepower. Keep digging and digging, and an H2 owner with enough money and time can get quite close to the 326 horsepower claimed by the track-only H2R. This experience is the closest you can get to riding into a black hole. I have personally had the illustrious privilege of taking an H2 to over 200 miles an hour, 211 to be specific, at the Texas Mile, and it certainly was a life-altering, bone-puckering experience. We'll round out today's video with a little bit of a sleeper hit. Kawasaki's H2 might get all the attention these days, but they're also still rocking their own rocket-powered couch on wheels, the ZX-14R. This bike came up in the same era as the Hayabusa and can be considered its spiritual rival. It hasn't been memed or customized to the extent at which the Hayabusa has, but it still reigns as one of the preferred bikes for Kawasaki enthusiasts who appreciate the ergonomic comforts of a massive open-class superbike. The ZX-14 makes around 200 horsepower and 115 foot-pounds of torque from its 1441cc inline 4. Back in the day, you didn't need no dang supercharger to make buttloads of power. You just took an oversized superbike engine and stuck it on a big stout chassis and called it a day. Today's riders are soft. They've got it too easy. The ZX-14 is pure and simple in its execution, and while it is kind of a geezer missile at this point, in some ways, it's still nice to see it kicking around. Thanks for making it all the way to the end today. I appreciate your time, even though there are so many brutal cold start exhaust videos you could be watching instead. That sacrifice does not go unnoticed. I'll catch you in the next one. See you later. Fact: At a 16th century banquet hosted by France's King Henry III, an entire roast peacock was served, redressed in its own feathers, posed to look alive with a gilded beak and sometimes even fireworks in its tail, turning the dish into a literal spectacle of royal excess. Goodbye.